This is gonna be the only tier list you will need to see this entire season. My name is Trust Me, I'm a former Contenders winner and pro player. I also reached Champion 3 last season and this is my tier list. This tier list mostly focus on pro play, but I will also explain why I rate which hero in their respective category. A really important tip for ranked is a very simple one. Try to pick up 3 heroes on one role and try to perfect that role before touching other roles. The tier list is supposed to give you an idea on what you can pick up in order to perform well in the upcoming Season 10. So there's a lot different than you would think, because I personally played a lot of scrims, and that's why my opinion will be a bit different from the main audience opinion probably on the mid-season patch. But let's just start right away. Right, like we have Cassidy. Cassidy is still a solid pick on many brawl maps. Every single push map, every single flashpoint map, every single cough map. Cassidy, every single cough map that has brawl potential, right? Like the junk tower inside. Every single map that is close ranged maps is really good with Cassidy still, right? Sojourn is the better option than Cassidy on some maps, mainly because of the high ground components and flank potentials, right? And the catching potential when people run away. D.Va, really good. It's a must pick. I keep saying it for the 3 components. Like, you can have Winston. I think, personally speaking, for ranked, Winston is worse than D.Va. In scrims, I can see why people pick Winston over D.Va. Bastion, decent. He can be a niche pick on some maps if you want to play Brawl with Bastion, in example, or like it's a counter to Mauga, basically. I'll talk about Mauga later. Yeah, so I would rate Bastion somewhere over here. Not really too sure. He's okay. It's not one of the worst DPS. Genji, same. He's not really good. He can be okay if you play him with Winston, but he's probably like somewhere between these two kind of positions. I don't really want to talk too much about it. He doesn't give the same value as you have with Tracer. He basically does Tracer's job, just worse. And the ult isn't even better because you need too many resources in order to support the ultimate. Like, let's say you have Nano Blade, right? But then the enemy might have beat and they still win the fight somehow, and you use 2 of the hardest to farm ults, right? And you have bad neutrals anyway, so it's not really a good hero. Hanzo, I think Hanzo is good on Circuit Royale, because that's where he shines, right? The shield break potential with the storm arrows. The dragon is really bad. Maybe that needs a buff. It already got a buff, but it's not enough to really make him a good, viable character. So he's gonna be okay on Circuit Royale, an example, where you have the long range poke spam matchups. Junkrat is a terrible hero, straight up. Just does everything worse than Cassidy or Sojourn. You literally have to play inside rooms. Closed borders is what you don't want. It's not the best. Wait, let me type to crew. Next up we have Lucio. Lucio, he is a bit worse now that Brick is more viable. Let's go back. Let's say it again. Lucio is a bit worse now than he was before. He's still a really good pick and basically a must pick on every map. You can see why people just pick Lucio and dominate every rank game. The potential to chase. People can run away from you because you catch them. You boop them back into your team. You can kite away from abilities from ults. You have a really good ultimate that takes space and has survivability potential. Like, you can live other ults. An example, Graph, Blade, Illari ult. You can counter all these ults with beat, right? The way how you counter beat is with counter beating later, right? Like, that tells you enough how strong the hero is. So Lucio is definitely a must pick. Must pick. Let's go over. I'm only gonna list the top 6 heroes here, so you would see that. D.Va is currently really strong in my opinion. Really underrated. No one plays D.Va though. Mei is insanely bad. Like, the ult isn't really good. You don't really get that much value with it, so it's just not really good. Mei is really bad. Mercy, same position. Mercy is the coin flip hero itself. Like, you have no impact. All you rely on is your team to carry. You can have Mercy on like the high ground maps where you can play Pharah with, like Watchpoint Gibraltar, but Brick just does the job way better than Mercy. Supporting the team, supporting the angles. Mercy's just terrible. You don't have any supportive ultimates. The Valk just saves you, but doesn't really do a lot. You can still die through it a lot of times. You can't really. The heal output isn't really that good, so Mercy's just a coin flip hero. It's the same with Illari, but I'll get to Illari later. Pharah, decent. I wouldn't say Pharah is also a niche pick. She's like a pick you pick when you want to counter someone. You know, that's like the hero. When someone is playing Bastion or Torpion and you're struggling against them, then you pick Pharah. Basically, Reaper, same kind. If you're struggling against Monkey, if you're struggling against Mauga, if you're struggling against Rotok, then Reaper can be niche pick on the brawl maps. But usually you go better off playing Soldier and just spamming rails on the Hawk or the Mauga. Reinhardt. Reinhardt a lot better in scrims. In ranked, and I see LH Cloudy, he's like the guy you look at when you look at Reinhardt and try to place him in the tier list, right? For ranked, an example. So in scrims, I would rate him way higher, but he's not really that good in ranked for some reason, even though he got buffed, which is very confusing, right? But I do feel like that's because just tank in general is just the tank have way more HP, and the Reinhardt swing doesn't really do pressure enough in order to do something, and the shield doesn't really do anything. You're still very stationary, so against all the dive, against all the speed boosts, you feel very stationary. But I can see him being better, so I'm gonna put him into good on some maps. He's definitely better than Rotok, but Rotok feels more rewarding than Reinhardt, because Rotok feels more like you have impact. Reinhardt is like a coin flip hero as well, so I should put him over here. He's a coin flip hero, but he's better coin flipping than Rotok is, because Rotok is a coin flip hero. You go in, you need to pray that they don't really run at you, that you keep the angles, that you play with angles. That's the one thing that Rotok does really well, like flank a lot, play with angles, open up a main space by flanking, by drawing enemy team to push you away from the main, so your team can push main. But now without another tank in Overwatch 1, an example, it is much less rewarding flanking with Rotok than it was in Overwatch, right? Because of that reason. Because you don't have main space, and you don't really push main with your team because there's no tank to push main, right? Which is usually the job as a tank. So that's why I put Rotok in the lowest. Okay, Soldier, honestly, doesn't really do good. I do agree to that. He just does the job of Soldier and worse than. He's like a combination. You can play Soldier with Ball, you can play Soldier with Doomfist, but any other that's not really the good hero. Let's say it like that. He can be okay on some maps. I'll put him just because of the Doomfist and the Ball composition. Let's say you're playing a very open map such as Colosseo. Colosseo is very common, where you go first fight, you go flank top left, and then you have a Ball slamming in the main, and you take a lot of space that way. But even then, better to run the Sigma comp with Spam and Sojourn and Tracer probably. But we will see. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can play Sojourn. It's different. Okay, Symmetra is really good. It's really, really good right now. So, I don't want to make it a very good pick, but the ult is insanely strong. One of the best ultimates on DPS, for sure. Like, one of the best DPS ults. Really, really good hero right now. But I don't want to place him too high since he's very hard to play, very niche. You need a lot of team coordination, which you just don't have in ranked, right? But generally speaking, Symmetra is really strong. The TP, the fast fights you can fight, a lot of poke damage you do with right clicks. The ult is so strong. The left click beam charge and brawls, it's really, really strong. Underrated, definitely. Torpion is decent. It just, like, Torpion just does the job of a soldier just a bit worse, and the job of a Cass. So based on that, I wouldn't really play him. He's good into Winston, so if you're struggling against Winston, an example, you're good off playing Torp. If you're struggling into Reinhardt, you might as well just play Torp and break his shield. That's better than breaking the shield with Soldier, because with Soldier into Reinhardt you would have to flank. So if you're struggling against Winston, you can just pick Torp, right? But other than that, he's not really good. Tracer is a must pick. like the best DPS right now, still, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's the hardest hero, and I like that he's really good because of that reason. But he did get a lot harder. Like the Tracer hero got a lot harder. Mainly because stick is just way harder to hit. But yeah, it's still the best hero. So let's not say more about that. I like that everyone is a he. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about the hero. That's the masculine way to. I can say Widowmaker. She is a. I didn't really look at that. So. Good on some maps and team bombs. Yeah, Widow is the same thing. Like Widow is good on Circuit, Widow is good on Havana, an example, if you play the Sigma map. But sometimes you just gotta walk out of spawn by brawling out, right? If the enemy team's brawling on holding. So yeah, I mean Widow's a good pick. Widow's a really good pick. Still. Hawk really bad, doesn't he have 60% win rate? Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean the most games you win is against other Hawks. Does that make the hero good? No. That's just a thing. D.Va just does everything Hawk does better. That makes the hero just 10 times worse. Like, there's no tournament you will find that people will win with Hawk nowadays, currently. So, that's. In ranked, I can see why he's good, but again, maybe that is an argument where you can convince me to put Hawk over here. Yeah, in the highest rank, Hawk is just falling apart. And that's what we look at, right? It's good in low ranks. Because people just don't have a good coordination to beat Hawk. And they split a lot and then walk into the Hawk angle. Winston is really good. Really, really good. I don't want to switch Winston with D.Va, but Winston is really, really good. Xayah is really bad. Xayah is like such a coin flip hero. You have to pray that the enemy team is playing bad and not playing Ramatra, basically, or Winston, or Sigma, or any other tank, the Reinhardt that just destroys you. Any other tank that is not Orisa, basically, or Junker Queen. So yeah, so she's really really bad. I see Hawk. I put Hawk in decent. You're right. Why is D.Va good? Just does everything. High ground control maps, poke, dive. You can chase people. You can kite. You can eat a lot of stuff like ults, like Ilariel, an example. You can counter a lot of bad heroes, an example. You can counter Bastion. You can win a lot of ranked games if you play good. So yeah, I mean you can see why D.Va is dominating ranked. Okay, Zenyatta. I think Zenyatta's good on some maps. Again, he's not the best hero, but he's gonna be good on Circuit. Circuit is a good example because Circuit is a niche map where you most likely find yourself playing Babs and Sigma, Widow, Hanzo. That's what you usually find yourself on. If the enemy team is not playing the Brawl matchup and you have to break spawn, then you play Brawl and then might switch. Okay, Anna. Really got stronger this time. Anna really a lot stronger. Generally speaking, she still is worse than Lucio and Bub. So I put her in good on some maps. Same with Brick. I'll put both of them at the same point. Because Brick is really good with Anna. Brick is also like the main counter to Wrecking Ball. Struggle against Ball, you might as well just pick Brick. Sombra. Sombra is decent. Not the best. It's the same reason for every other DPS here. Don't want to rate him too high. Just does the job of a tracer just worse. The hack is not as important. The EMP is really strong though. Orisa is really bad right now. Really, really bad. For some reason, she's good into Mauga, she's good into Rotok, so if you're struggling against Rotok, you might as well still find yourself picking and catching a win. But I'll put her in the same tier as Hawk right now. The change definitely ruined. Doomfist did get a lot better, same with Wrecking Ball, but he's still not really good, so I'm gonna put him in the same kind of tier. It's a niche pick sometimes, but you find yourself in scrims where you just run the Winston, run the D.Va, and you're much better off against the Doom. D.Va just counters Doom in every single. The only thing you don't count is just the punch. But the amount of ability cooldown traits you get compared to Doom is just way higher. You have more HP, you can deny more people, you can chase the Doomfist, you make more damage than he does. That's reason enough to put him in this tier. Moira, really bad. Is not really good. Really, really bad. Even in scrims, you find that Moira is just not really good. She's get heavily gapped by Baptiste and Kiri. Moira is like an easy hero. If you want to like farm the wins in low elo, you can play Moira. It's okay. Not the best hero though. I'll put him here. You ignore the against Hawk, guys. You ignore the Hawk until he walks into main space. When he walks into main space, then you shoot him. Then you drain his cooler. When he walks somewhere else where no one gets mad at, then you don't push him because he wins the 1v1s. You don't want to push 1v1s into Hawk. Always want to wait for at least 2 guys, 3 guys to take the 3v1 for a second, and then you drain his cooldowns. Then you force the enemy team to heal the Hawk. Once the enemy team heals the Hawk, they can't do damage, meaning you keep the cycle going. You shoot the Hawk, you're not getting shot back. They just have to keep running, right? That's where the chasing component is really good in like D.Va or Lucio. Wrecking Ball. I agree that he's better this time, but I do think he's only good on some maps. Like, I can see him being good on Esperanza, an example, where just Winston is very hard to make work. High ground fast with your entire team is very hard. So yeah, I'll put him in good on some maps. Ashe, really good. It's a good pick. Really underrated pick in my opinion. Always has been a good pick on maps like Blizzard World, Havana. Oh, what am I saying? Not Havana. Sorry. Gibraltar. This is where you play Ashe Echo, an example, right? Or Widow. Those are the kind of heroes you can. But you find yourself playing Sojourn, so that's what you come to now. Sojourn superior, right? Sojourn is the go-to hero. It's the DPS that just does every role. You can chase, you can take high ground, you can have a good ultimate that does loads of damage, right? You can chase with that ultimate. You can kite, you can get out of ults, you can get out of bad positions by sliding. You can take good positions really fast, you can rotate, you can catch other people rotating with a right click shot. So it just does a really good job at everything that the other heroes do, but better, right? There's also the reason why I would put Ashe as a good pick, but like the last kind of good, right? It would be the one before this kind of tier, right? And I do think I gotta be fair and put this hero here, because I feel like there's not a lot of good picks here. But to be fair, that's kind of obvious. So I want to have at least some of the heroes here. Okay, let's start with Baptiste. Baptiste is a must pick. So strong, absurd, does everything. Really, really good. Like, you can do damage, you can have immortality, you have a lot of sustain, you have good healing, you have good burst damage, what you need, you have good pressure in main. You would want most cases, especially in the broad meta that we're facing right now. Really, really good. But of course, if you have a Winston, then you would rather have a Kiri instead of the Bump. That's like the same with high ground maps. Rather play Kiri than Bump because Kiri is not as stationary. No movement other than jump. Baptiste is pretty much a DPS, yeah, but he does a really good job. I mean, the broad maps, right, you win with Bap. This is also why I would like to put Kiri in the same category, because you kind of like torn between those heroes depending on your team's composition. Like if you have Ramatra, you play Bap, right? If you have Sigma, you play Bap. If you have a Winston, you play Kiri. That's like kind of how it goes, right? Or you find yourself, you have Winston, and Winston, you can still play Anna. So most of the time, you will find yourself that Lucio, Winston, Kiri is just better than Anna, Brick, Winston. Depends on the map, of course. It's easier to play Anna Brick than Lucio Kiri. That's true. So I would like to put them here, but because there's already 2 supports here, I'm gonna put them here. But this row is also a really, really good row. So this is what you should. Sigma is an S tier, but D.Va's just more viable in ranked. So I would put him here. But Sigma does a lot of good stuff. It just gets countered by Ramatra much easier than D.Va does. That's why I would Sigma and Ramatra in the same tier. So they're really strong. Both for the brawl, right? Like Ramatra is the best brawl tank. So yeah, I'll put them here. Now you will find me crazy, but I would say Mauga, an example, is good. Some maps. It's the same call. I think Mauga is really underrated. The cage, especially the composition with Mauga Symmetra, which just takes off all the weaknesses. An example, like you have weakness with Mauga, Symmetra takes care of the weakness. So that can be a combination that makes it really viable, but we will find it out in Overwatch CS when it comes. Pro players play that. And if I'm right or not. So Jungle Queen is still really bad. Really bad. It's a coin flip hero, basically. You can do a lot of stuff, but just find yourself lacking and playing worse than Sigma, Ramatra, and D.Va. Almost every getting gapped. It's actually worse than Hawk as well in my, because the ult is just very bad. Just too much to counter. There's window, there's lamp, there's immortality, there's cleanse, lamp and immortality. It's the same thing. You know what I mean, right? Life Fever, the coin flippiest hero of the coin flips. Same with the Mercy. Like, if you pick Life Fever, you lost the control of your life, basically. That's what I mean. And then we have Illari and Venture in the same tier. Again, Illari, I don't like Illari. I think Zenyatta just does every job of Illari better. You have the same main pressure. You can have off-angle flanks with Tracer. You support your teammates more. You have a better ultimate. You might have less healing, but it doesn't really matter when the offensive pressure is just higher because you have an Orb Tracer keeping the angles that you want to hold. So yeah, I think Illari just does worse than Zenyatta in almost every matchup. Okay, that is the tier list. I hope you enjoyed it, and leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.